Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to week 7 of the War on Art. We are almost done, just this session and one more. We have Zandra over here in the chat. She says good morning. Good morning, Zandra. I hope you had a wonderful week, last couple weeks actually. I had to reschedule last week. Got some stuff going on, obviously, but we are back. So, we got another person here. Welcome, guys. So if Kim is here, Kim had a art show a couple weeks ago, so I'd love to hear about that. Sandra, I know you've got some stuff going on. I finished this painting. I finished this with my knots and all that. I did some really cool beveling on this. So I'm really excited this gets to go to its home. My client's really happy. And I also started on a new painting. I'm on a roll. So we've got this cool trippy cat portrait I'm working on. So I just started him. So the topic has been professionalism and making sure that we show up to actually do the work, even if we don't feel that inspiration to do the work. And this week, we have a little bit more about that, where we're talking about the magic that happens when you do regularly sit down. And let me tell you, this cat portrait, I finished this painting. I was ready to be done with this. I had a lot to put into this. I leveled up some of my skills this time with some lighting and painting with light. So I'm really happy about that. And riding the high of completing this had me going in to immediately be inspired to sit down and work on this. I literally worked on this for like a few hours, and then once this was finished, I grabbed a canvas immediately and went and grabbed this one because I've been working on this this idea has been percolating in my head for quite some time. I found these really cool reference images that just really inspired me, and I put them together and I was like, this has got to be this is going to be cool. This is kind of a new direction for me as far as figuring out in planning. I definitely have been feeling inspired lately, and I've been trying to sit down more regularly. So this is kind of the topic today. So Zandra says the cat portrait's dope, and she says the sunset is absolutely stellar on the first painting. Thank you so much. So this the clouds are inspired from an actual sunset I saw and took photos from. But this, yeah, no, I'm really excited. I'm gonna be taking, I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but see around the cat's shoulders how it's like this warpy, swoopy design is behind it. I'm gonna try and make it look like glass shards in there, and actually reflecting and diffracting the light. So we'll see how that comes out. I'm pretty stoked. I'll be working on this baby. I feel like I got that out pretty quick. So happy, good times. So those are art updates for me. Now to the book. Focus your energies and intentions. So sitting down daily with your daily art practice, showing up, making sure that you don't skip out on it. We've been talking a lot about this, and I really hope that you guys watching have been applying some of these things. I know that life gets busy, life's crazy sometimes. A lot of times we can get started on a project and abandon it, but just know to keep sitting down and keep applying it, and you'll get there. And that inspiration does come oftentimes after you sit down to do your work and do like the hard stuff. So Kim says, I'm here finally. Whoop, whoop. Welcome, Kim. I'd love to hear about your show. Zandra says she photographed her paintings in the raw, which is awesome. Perfect way to edit. I love the controls you get without relinquishing some of your quality there with the raw editing. So Kim's been working to play the piano at least 20 minutes a day, even if it's just your warm-ups. That's perfect. Good deal. Yeah, I'm still trying to get, I just redid my schedule at work. And with my new business and with my work and with my art business, I finally have a solid schedule that I'm very happy with. It allows me to sit down every single day to work. It allows me to pay my bills. It allows me to do both my jobs. So, big wins for me, big wins for you, Zandra, out there sitting down for 20 minutes a day. That's perfect. Yeah, you've got to get that balance figured out. And so Kim says the show was very windy. She sold $50 and lost $470 to wind damage. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, shows are kind of crazy like that. Like, it was an outdoor show, I take it. I'm really sorry about your damage to your artwork. Are you able to fix it? I know they did not have insurance, and yes, it was outdoor. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I learned a hard lesson with that. I was curating some art for one of my employers. I was curating art every month for them. And I ended up having to do art contracts with the artists moving forward. I had to like get all this stuff up because somebody stole a painting out of the business, and the people I were working for said, you know, we're really sorry, but we can't be responsible for the cost of it. And then the artists didn't have their work insured. And I know a lot of times as artists, we don't insure the artwork that we show, but it's really important that we do, because for the most part, when you are showing your art, the company or the business that's allowing you to show their art there, a lot of times they make you sign something that says they're not liable if anything's stolen or damaged. So I'm really sorry to hear about that. Zandra says, Kim, she's sorry. Kim says she doesn't have, oops, I'm not trying to pin messages. Zandra says, I would have thought of how dangerous the outdoors could be. And then Zandra is upset about someone stealing a painting. Yeah, and so luckily the artist was very understanding about it. I had to make that phone call and say, hey, look, I'm sorry. Like, that was a really awkward position for me to be in. So whenever I curated any when I curated the artwork for the future months, I made sure to tell people, you know, they're not liable. Please see the contract and make sure you're okay with it before you hang your art. And not to detract from anybody showing their artwork, but it is a real life situation that can happen, and it's not fun to deal with. Not for the curator, not for the business owner, not for the artist. Luckily, the artist was like, well, I take it as a compliment, but it was unfortunately one of, it was a really amazing portrait of Mark Twain that she did, and it was one of the larger ones that she had showed. It was really beautiful. So Zandra says that's what happened to Monet paintings, not ours. Yeah, so somber news. That's okay. Moving forward, you know, you can always make more art. I was just telling my friend this weekend, I was looking around my house and I'm like, I'm ready for all this art to go. I'm ready to make new and better artwork. So I think I'm gonna have an art sale. I'm gonna have an art sale for Christmas. So I need to get rid of this art. I want fresh walls. I need, you know, I don't have my studio space like I used to. So I need to, and I just have a lot of art. I need to get rid of it. I need to have an art sale. So if anyone's interested in buying a Sari original, I'm gonna be doing it. All right, so news updates. Well, Kim, I hope you can fix that, the damage stuff. I know that's really heartbreaking. I've definitely poked holes in my canvases before. I actually have one right over here. I ran over it with a cart after it fell out my cart, and I had to spend like a few hours fixing it. It's never fun to fix a painting. It's never fun to patch it. Then like also like you have to deal with like the texture over the front and make sure that whatever it is you're doing is smooth. It's just a nightmare. It brings you to tears. But I'm definitely done that to my own paintings, so I understand. So we're starting here in the book on page 105. We start out with a obscure quote from Xenophon, the cavalry commander. I didn't necessarily feel a connection with this quote, but I'm going to read it anyway. The first duty is to sacrifice to the gods and pray them to grant the thoughts, words, and deeds likely to render your command most pleasing to the gods, and to bring yourself, your friends, and your city the fullest measure of affection and glory and advantage. So I kind of broke this down and retooled it, and I thought, you know, your first duty is to sacrifice and pray and grant you the thoughts, words, and deeds that want to be, will push you forward, right? So to me, that means focus your energies and your intentions and really get clear about what it is you want, and figure out, you know, at least the first few steps to get you there. And then in the end, I broke it down, you know, where he says, bring yourself, your friends, your city, the fullest measure of affection, glory, and advantage. I took that to be, you know, whatever that is that you've decided to do, just do it, give it your all, and, you know that whatever action you take, as long as you weigh it against your own heart, you make sure that it's something that you want. You know, whatever action that you take, even if it's not something that you want, but do it and give it your best. And, you know, get that in itself is something to be proud of. So Saunders in the chat saying, I forgot how over the top this book can be. I know, I'm just like, how do I break this shit down? Pray to the gods and bring yourself glory. But like, I really think that gives us a nice little nugget of wisdom. You know, focus your energies, your intentions, and figure out a plan of action. And then, you know what? Carry that plan of action out as best as you can. And that in itself will bring you that glory. I don't know. Oh, Stephen Pressfield. You're such a character. I love it. So now we have angels in the abstract. All right, so he's talking here about how, you know, invisible psychic forces can support and sustain us. And he's saying that he's going to be using terms like muses and angels. And does that make you uncomfortable? If it does, you have my permission to think of angels in the abstract. Consider these forces as being as impersonal as gravity, just like the law of attraction, you guys, right? You put that shit out there, whatever it is your energy's vibing with, that's what's going to bring it to you. I don't know. So anyway, it's just a hard and fast rule like gravity. You know, you show up and you do the work, and all of a sudden the forces will conspire to bring you the benefit. All right, so just as resistance can be thought of as personal, it can also be viewed as a force of nature as impersonal as entropy or molecular decay. I love his poetic gore. Oh my God. Okay, so the call to growth can be conceptualized as personal or as impersonal, like the tides or transitioning of Venus. Okay. So the point is, there are forces we can call our allies, and as resistance works to keep us from becoming who we were born to be, equal and opposite powers are counterpoised against it. These are our allies and angels. So again, okay, so you have your internal resistance, whatever garbage that you tell yourself about why you can't and how it's hard, you know, showing up and working through all that. And then that then allows whatever the muse is to you to show up. And I think it's really just a matter of breaking through that resistance, showing up and doing the work, and letting those pathways that are unexercised to become more familiar. Because when you're doing a new task, it takes more effort. And then once you consistently do it, it almost becomes like automatic, like driving to work. You know the route to work. Sometimes you show up in the morning, you're like, how the hell did I get here? Well, it was automatic. So I think that that's what he's speaking to, is that just you're really like making the abstract connections that you need in order to be creative more of a habit and more familiar, and then it allows that inspiration to just really flow to you easier. So Kim's saying Xenophon, now this was the guy who did the quote, was born in 431 BC and he died in 354 BC. Zandra says, I agree, Sari. Creativity is a muscle and you gotta flex it. Eventually it becomes second nature. Yeah. So this Xenophon guy, we just got his dates here. So he, he was probably pretty, they were all obsessed with the gods and praying and sacrificing and, sounds like he's a cavalry commander. I don't know what else to say about that. All right, so approaching the mystery. Yes, yes. So thank you, Zandra, for agreeing with me. I'm glad that makes sense. A lot of times when I articulate some of this stuff, depending on who I'm talking to, I talk to some people and I get a little too heady about it, and then they're like, oh, it's too many words. Let's simplify it. So I'm glad I'm getting better at simplifying some of these concepts. So approaching the mystery. So Stephen's talking about how he stressed professionalism so heavily, and the reason why is because the most important thing about art is work. Okay, and then he's saying, because you sit down day after day and keep grinding, something mysterious starts to happen. And this is what we were just talking about, I believe, Zandra. A process is set into motion by which inevitably and infallibly heaven comes to our aid. And I think heaven is just your brain expanding. Unseen forces enlist in our cause. Serendipity reinforces our purpose. And when you're focused on something so consistently and it's so important to you and you're putting the effort in, you're going to see results. And people forget about this. You see results. And again, that it's like we were talking about with the synchronicity, like the more you're focused on something and the more that you are willing to get up and work and devote your energies to something, the more and more doors that just naturally open up to you, because, people can see your passion for it. And, sometimes we're like magnets. We can just kind of draw that stuff to ourselves. So I'm getting woo-woo again. I got my ideas. So as Andra says, she likes heaven is your brain expanding. Actually, I really like that. That's a good quote, too. I think that could be applied in many different ways. But really, like, if you think about, okay, now heaven is your brain expanding. Let's go into, like, some, if you're, it's like when you get that bright idea, like you've been hammering away at something the wrong way, and then all of a sudden you decide to get the good idea to just open the door and go around. You're like, oh, shit, that was easy. Zandra says it's like running. The more you run, the better you get at running. Exactly. And you know what? And again, I made a little note here too. Artwork is like exercise, right? Soon you won't feel right unless you start your day with the artwork. Soon you won't feel right unless you start your day with your exercise. I used to be like 5 days a week before work, get up before light, go to the gym. And then on the days that I didn't do that for whatever reason, I just felt awful. And it's the same way with artwork with me. It's the same with my exercise. It's the same way with my artwork. If I don't get up and do it, I just feel like there's something wrong. And then Zandra's laughing because she says she's been hammering the wrong way. So yeah, so when we sit down each day and we do our work, the power concentrates around us, right? Like you have that energy of momentum. You've got the momentum going. You have the consistency. You have, like, it's now starting to become a habit, right? And when we sit down and do the work, we become like magnetized rod that attracts iron fillings. Ideas come, insights accrete. And this is so true. The more and more you tap into that, the more and more it will come. So whatever way in which you need to frame it with, it's just almost like you know, like he's saying, like it's like a law of gravity. It's just how it works. And so whatever way in which you need to frame that to be to fit into your ideal or ideals, whatever. So it's an attitude of egolessness and service. We're facing dragons just like the Knights of the Round Table, fire-breathing griffins of the soul, whom we must outfight and outwit to reach the treasure of our self in potential and to release the maiden who is God's. I'm so sorry. Maiden who is God's plan and destiny for ourselves to answer why we were put on this planet. Okay. Okay, Stephen. Yes. Yeah. So, and you know what I think is also, might I add, that, you know, the dragons and challenges seem very insurmountable, but oftentimes it's the power of your perspective, right? If you're looking at something from the ground super close, my phone looks like it's bigger than my head, but if I move it down and away, you see how small it is. And it's the same way with problems, right? It depends on your perspective. If you're looking from my webcam here, my phone's giant. It's bigger than my head. How can I ever get around that? But then you move it back and you're like, oh, wow, this is the problem, okay? Oh, wow, that's actually a really small problem. All I have to do is just get up and do the work. Like, it's fine. So Zandra says, my note on this section is wow, just wow, melodrama, yo. And she says she literally wrote that in her book. I know. But you know what? The thing is, everybody's in a different place. It's going to hit everybody in a different spot. And so oftentimes, again, like with perspective, like where are you looking at this from? Like where are you in your journey? So perhaps to somebody, this won't be as melodramatic as it will be a reality. Whereas to somebody else who's perhaps gotten past, you know, limiting beliefs of that sort, then it's going to feel a little bit more melodramatic. Like even when I look back on perceptions that I've had from like a few years ago, or perceptions that I've had after learning a lesson in a situation, right? Like you have that big shift in your mindset. So I think it can be appropriate to view things in this way. But I also think that it's nice to keep it light and realize that this is about perspective, and you can change your perspective, and that in itself is going to give you a lot more breathing room, and like just relax and show up, do the work, just trust the process. Okay, here's my soapbox. Jeez. All right, the next page is Invoking the Muse. We've got this whole story, you know, about how he's got this huge. We've got Invoking the Muse part 1 and part 2. So I'm not sure if y'all have read through this part, but what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of pick at it. So sacrificing to the gods and invoking their aid, right? Okay. So the last thing he does before he sits down to work is he says his prayer to the muse. Now remember, Stephen, he did the Muses prayer from Homer's Odyssey, and we actually went through and read this. And I liken this to, like, let's say you see a pitcher in, you know, baseball, and he comes up to the base and he's going to throw. I obviously don't do sports. I'm sorry if I'm misspeaking here. So he goes up and he's about ready to do his throw. But if you notice, pitchers will oftentimes do like the same thing before they do their pitch, right? So it's like your starting ritual. So whatever it is your starting ritual is, whatever gets you into that mindset. And for me, like when I'm teaching a workshop, I have kind of, when I'm teaching a painting workshop, I have something that I like to do before I go out and teach. And it gets me clear-headed. It focuses me on what it is my intent is. And I'll do like a little meditation just to clear my mind. And then I'll kind of just write out what my intentions are for this class. And it's just a really nice way to go into a task. And you can do this before you sit down to your easel to paint, or before you sit down to the piano. But make it quick though, because you don't want it to be too long of a ritual. You don't want an hour long. You don't want a half an hour long. You want something like 10, 15 minutes. You can really do it. So do like what I do is like a little, 10-minute meditation. And then I write out like 5 minutes, my intentions for the class. I want to be very, helpful. I want to be observant and to sense when people might be struggling with something. I want to make sure that I am going around and touching base with everybody and encouraging them. I want to make sure that I'm asking people what it is they want help with. This has really helped to alleviate any performance anxiety, any distractions from personal life for the day. So starting rituals are really cool. Again, make it quick. Oftentimes we can lean on our tools. So we can take a tool that's supposed to help us, and then we can put it in front of the actual task we're trying to do and prioritize our tool oftentimes before what it is we really want. And so sometimes we can flip that a little bit, like, which is, again, if you make it quick, then it's going to be a helpful thing rather than a detractor, right? So let's, soapbox ended. All right, so you say your prayer, you get down, you do your business, and then you got to work through that fear here. He's got this big analogy. Oh my God, he's getting all kinds of like he's talking about how he blew up a marriage, how he went to go write a book, and how he didn't have the guts to write this book. Somebody lectured him about self-discipline, dedication, and the evils of the marketplace. Anyway, so he never did find a buyer for his book, or the next one either. It was 10 years before I got the first check for something I had written, and 10 more before I got the novel that was actually published. But the moment when I first hit the keys that spelled out the end was epochal. He remembers rolling the last page out and adding it to the stack. That was the finished manuscript. Nobody knew I was done. Nobody cared, but I knew. I felt the dragon I'd been fighting all my life had just dropped dead at my feet and gasped out its last sulfuric breath. Rest in peace, motherfucker. The next morning, he went over to Paul's office for coffee and told him he'd finished. Good for you, he said without looking up. Start the next one today. Okay, how do you feel about that? You fucking work. You bust out this piece of shit that nobody cares about, but you finished it and you did it for yourself. And then what do they say? They don't have to acknowledge you. You have to acknowledge yourself. You put that in, but it's like when he says that he wrote the end at the end of this book, even though the first 3 books that he actually finished, nobody cared about. The thing is, he did it. And that's like what I was saying at the beginning with this quote. Know that you can have whatever you want, and just know that you have to give it to yourself. Be proud of yourself, right? Know that I finished that. Know that finished project, whether it's crap or not, that's a finished project, and you definitely have the experience of finishing something, which is huge. So, rest in peace, motherfucker, he says to that giant book of a dragon he slayed. Good for you. Start the next one today. And I like that he said start the next one today. And this is really interesting because at the beginning of this, I told you guys, I finished this painting. And then I had a fire under my ass, and I was so glad I had an extra canvas here and I didn't have to go to my storage unit and get one. I finished this painting, and literally I took pictures of it. I posted it on my social media. And then before I even sat down, I was so excited. I picked up this canvas to start this painting. And you know what? That's what we need. We need to keep going. Start the next one today. Don't stop. It's like what I was saying, you finish a big project that you work, it's okay to like celebrate and all that, but I absolutely love the start on the next one. Keep that momentum going, because momentum is what's going to keep that muse and that inspiration and that consistency, and it's going to keep your schedule right. So Zandra says, I once took an acting class and the teacher told me an important thing. If you don't like auditions, you don't like acting, because that's the work. I think that's an oversimplification, to quote Zandra talking about Stephen Pressfield. However, I do agree, yeah, to, you know, Zandra says it's the same for writer's blank page, a painter's blank canvas. If you don't like the blank page, then the work is not for you, because it's going to be your best friend. I don't agree with that, but I hear you. I don't think that you should give up on something just because there's a piece of it that you don't like. However, depending on the severity of how much you don't like it, perhaps. Kim says done is better than perfect, or as I like to say, done is better than none, because oftentimes we won't finish things because it's not perfect, which is a big thing. Zandra says, word, Kim. Sorry, Zandra. I do agree with like parts of that. I do agree with it, but like as a blanket statement, I kind of feel like, because for me, there was like 2 years where like I couldn't make anything, and I hated sitting there and staring at that canvas and not being able to put anything down on it. However, part of the work for me was just getting in the habit of showing up at that canvas, whether I did something or not. Sometimes I'll do this thing where I will just take pages and pages in a sketchbook, and I'll just draw whatever's in front of me, and it's a stupid mug. It's like it's this, it's that. I'll look at pictures. You can go online and look at pictures of anything and just draw anything and just keep going. Like that whole rabbit hole of online doom scrolling, you can convert that doom scrolling into everything I'm doom scrolling looking at is becoming a picture in my sketchbook. And it can be a 1 minute sketch, 1 minute sketch, 1 minute sketch. And oftentimes that is a really good way to get out of that blank page. Zandra saying there were people in that particular class and many arts that just wanted to be stars and have stuff handed to them. They didn't want to actually work. Yeah. So it's more the blank canvas is where the rubber meets the road. The blank page is a gatekeeper. Ooh. The blank page is a gatekeeper. Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. I think that's totally applicable for that. I think that's actually very poignant. The blank canvas is where the rubber meets the road. The blank page is a gatekeeper. And if you're new to something, it can be so daunting. If you're new to it, or if you feel that weight of perfectionism. So yeah, no, I definitely agree. The blank page is a gatekeeper. It can keep a lot of people out of it. And a lot of times we just don't know how to tackle that, how to get around it. And then we just give up because we're like, well, how? But, yeah, no, that's super interesting. I like that. Okay. So I'm going to reread that again. You said, if you don't like auditions, you don't like acting because that's the work. And then down here we say, a lot of people just want to be stars and have stuff handed to them. They didn't want to actually work, right? Yeah, so when you're working, I think that that's really huge actually, Zandra, because when you have this fantasy, right, about what being an artist means and getting glory and all that, and then it gets so blown up in your mind, and then when it comes down to sit down and actually do the work and you realize, okay, this is going to take a lot for me to get there, and like it's like years of dedication and passion and everything and showing up, doing that work, that grind, like It's not glamorous. It's not glamorous. It's that perception of overnight success. Oh, this artist just blew up overnight. No, they did not. That artist did not blow up overnight. You just noticed them overnight. So I think that there's a disconnect there from a lot of fledgling artists, a lot of like fledgling actors, anything creative, anything like that. Like people misinterpret skills for talent. And we've had this conversation before where somebody who didn't have a natural talent for something that shows up will surpass somebody who does have natural talent, because this person over here is willing to work on their skills and show up and do the work. Whereas somebody who's naturally talented at something, they basically, if they don't work at it, they're never going to grow. So they're going to stay stagnant, right? So Kim says, I have 4 art journals and I'm afraid to start because I'm afraid I will fuck up. I have 4 art journals that I'm afraid to start because I'm afraid I will fuck up. Ugh. The beginnings of a project, right? So the beginnings of a project are daunting. Now you're saying you have 4 art journals. I'm assuming these are 4 separate projects that you haven't started yet. And then maybe just chalking it up to an experiment, I guess. Is this for your own edification? So Zondra's saying, Kim, have you ever had a wreck this journal? It might help. Ooh, a wreck. I've seen those. Those look really fun. And Zondra says, or fucking it up is what you are afraid of. You should intentionally fuck it up. Drop it in a puddle, give it to a puppy, and then draw on it. Oh, I actually really like that. So if you're so scared of fucking something up, then we need to take it off that pedestal. That's interesting. Reevaluate why you're doing it. But I don't know. What I'd love to hear more about this from you, Kim. Zondra saying, remember, Berber artists intentionally weave mistakes into their rugs because no one can be as perfect as God. Aw, that's a nice sentiment. So Kim says, yes, 4 separate. She just wants it to be perfect. You know what I want to do is I want to take one of those, like a vintage book, and I want to do the thing where you just like paint on every single page and you like make it into a collage and you can like black out words. And I've really been wanting to do that for a while, but I'm like, how do I pick a book that I want to like paint in like that? All like the really cool books that I'm like, oh, this would make a really cool art journal. Then you're like, well, I don't want to mess up the book. So I think what I need to do is start out with something that I don't care about, find a book that is of no importance to me. Oh, Kim's down here saying thrift store for books. Yes. Zondra says, it's hard. I hear you, Kim, but you can do it. I has faith in you. Aw. Yeah, you can do it. And that's what that's a project I want to do. A freaking art collage painting book journal. I really want to do that. I think that would be really fun. Yeah, that might be a good project for our channel. All right, you guys. So, Kim says, I glue town pages together to make it sturdier. Oh, that's smart. Oh, 2 pages. I glued 2 pages together to make it sturdier. Yeah, because I was thinking if you're painting in it, it would go through the page. So I think that's what I'll do too. Get a thrift store book. If I want to go to the thrift store. Actually, I might have a book floating around here that I don't care about. And I might do that. So yeah, good for you. Start the next one today. Zondra says, it's not important what you do, but it's important that you do it. Gandhi. Yeah, I think then Zondra's cheering Kim on again. Yeah, I think that with what you do, it's just a matter of getting up and doing it. Like a lot of times we can get really overwhelmed at picking the perfect thing, but really it's more about just picking one thing and doing it for a while and seeing growth within that one task. And then, we get so, I see it in myself when I choose to pick up my phone and go through all like whatever messages I have instead of whatever task. It's like you get so distracted at this, at that, at this, at that. Oh, there's this cool thing here. Oh, there's this cool thing there. And just picking one and doing it and like not letting anything else get in the way. I don't know. But yeah. So Invoking the Muse, part 2. So we've got more. The first part of this is, man, cool. Finish the project and then start the next one. basics, right? So, oh my goodness. So he's talking about how he's got like the Muses were 9 sisters, daughters of Zeus, and he's naming them off, and that their job is to inspire artists. So we're going back here into Greek mythology here. So supposedly there's 9 muses. Each muse is responsible for a different art. And so he's saying there's a neighborhood in New Orleans where the streets are named after the muses. Oh, I really like that. I lived there once and had no idea. I thought they were just weird names. Oh, now I want to go there. I hope it's like a little art district. So here's Socrates and Plato's Phaedrus on the noble effect of heaven-sent madness. Okay. So this is Socrates commenting, okay, on the noble effect of heaven-sent madness. I'm really excited about this. Okay, so the third type of possession in madness is possession by the muses. When this seizes upon a gentle and virgin soul, it rouses it to inspired expression in lyric and other sorts of poetry, and glorifies countless deeds of the heroes of old for the instruction of posterity. But if a man comes to the door of poetry, untouched by the madness of muses, believing that technique alone will make him a good poet, he and his sane compositions never reach perfection, but are utterly eclipsed by the performances of the inspired madman. So essentially what we're saying is uninspired action will never surpass inspired action. Essentially what we're saying is mastering of technique and tools still will not surpass inspiration. However, we do need to master our tools, and we do need to show up, and when you show up, inspiration strikes. So the act of mastering your tools, and so just because you master your tools doesn't mean you show up every day, and showing up every day is how you get actually inspired. Okay, so this is interesting. I feel like I've broken that down pretty good. I feel like I agree with it. Yeah. But the noble effect of heaven-sent madness. Okay, I absolutely love this. I love that he put this in here. So, the noble effect of heaven-sent madness. I love it. So you show up, you do the work, you master your tools, you show up regularly, you're going to be inspired, and boom, you're going to have heaven-sent madness. And your work is going to surpass everything. Ah, it's beautiful. What do you guys think out there? All right, so the Greek way of apprehending the mystery was to personify it. The ancients sensed powerful primordial forces in the world. To make them approachable, they gave them human faces. Zeus, Apollo, Aphrodite. American Indians felt the same mystery and rendered it in animalistic forms. Bear teacher, hawk messenger, and coyote trickster. Okay, I love how mythology and cryptozoology and just societies in general will, I love folk tales that personify like states of being, right? Like being a trickster. I really enjoy that he's bringing this in here. This is my vibe right here. All right, so our ancestors were keenly cognizant of forces and energies whose seat was not in this material sphere, but in a loftier, more mysterious one. What did our ancestors believe about this higher reality? First, they believed that death did not exist there. The gods are immortal. The gods, though not unlike humans, are infinitely more powerful. To defy their will is futile. To act toward heaven with pride is to call down calamity. I roll. I think that's a little bit more about acting not in the benefit of the society as a whole. Call down calamity? I don't know. Time and space display an altered existence in this higher dimension. The gods travel swift as thought. They can tell the future, some of them, and though the playwright Agathon tells us, this alone is denied to God the power to undo the past. Yet the immortals can play tricks with time as we ourselves may sometimes in dreams or visions. Are y'all still awake out there? So the universe, the Greeks believed, was not indifferent. The gods take an interest in human affairs and intercede for good or ill in our designs. So the contemporary view is that all of this is charming but preposterous. But is it, Stephen questions? Then answer this. Where did Hamlet come from? Where did the Parthenon come from? Where did nude descending a staircase come from? Okay, so he's referencing all these works of art, and he's claiming that Muses imparted the actual artworks or the inspiration of them onto the human that created them. Okay, so, and then by extension, then the universe has created them. So this is a lot, again, like, The Artist's Way, where we're personifying this inspiration as a force outside of ourselves, or not necessarily even personifying it, but we're claiming that any and all inspiration doesn't belong to you. Again, my feeling on this is if you get to a point to where you're able to tap into this inspiration, I think that comes from you yourself. Just observing things and putting them together. Like, you are your own experiences, which means that your perception is going to be unique to you and different to other people, and how you perceive the world and all the pieces. And when you're showing up and creating that artwork consistently, you're allowing your creativity to be more of a muscle memory type thing where it just flows to you. So I'm disagreeing with this. I don't think about outside forces, but I mean, take this with a grain of salt. The point of the fact is that you show up, you do the work, you master your tools, and then you're going to be receiving these inspirations, whether they come from within you or outside of you. Like, that's really not, it doesn't matter how you frame it. Okay, so Zandra says she just Googled nude descending a staircase, and it is not what she was expecting. I have not seen it, so let me Google it as well. Nude descending a staircase. Nude descending a staircase. All right. What do we have here? Oh, that's not what I was expecting either. Huh. Was at the Tate Museum of Modern Art. So this is Cubism. So it's Cubism. So nude descending a staircase. This is Cubism. This one's at the Tate Museum of Modern Art. I don't see who did this one. Marcel Duchamp. Okay, well, I like it. I like it a lot. You know, I can see maybe how there's some boobs there, but, you know, maybe it's not a girl. I don't know. So Zandra says, I think of it as being like a whim of nature, and where modern humans think themselves above it, historic humans realized they were its subject and accepted. So according to that, I feel like I'm above the muse. I don't know. Well, that's an interesting. So a whim of nature. Ooh, I like a whim of nature, like the breeze. I don't know, because like whenever I go out in nature, it centers me, and you know, you feel reset and rejuvenated. Nature's powerful. I believe that. Huh. Well, the good thing is, cause and effect is at play, and regardless of how we frame it, we can see cause and effect. So results being where you're trying to go. Yeah, okay. I like it. Zandra says Marcel Duchamp's other major artwork was apparently a urinal. That's delightful. Have you ever cleaned urinals? That's super fun. Okay, let's move away from that. All right, guys. This is interesting. I lost my page. I gotta find it again here. All right. Testament of a Visionary. Invoking the Muse, part 3. Okay. Sandra's laughing. All right. So eternity is in love with the creations of time. It's a quote from William Blake. William Blake. Eternity is in love with the creations of time. Eternity's in love with the creations of time. Ooh, that's kind of fun. That's poetic. What does that mean? Eternity is in love with the creations of time. So eternity is a indefinite, essentially indefinite time. So eternity is almost in love with itself and what time allows it to create. I don't know. What do you guys think? That's kind of fun to think about. Let's twist our brains up a little bit. So Stephen says that, oh my God. Stephen says the visionary poet William Blake was, so I understand, one of those half-mad avatars who appear in flesh from time to time, savants capable of ascending for brief periods to loftier planes and returning to share the wonders they have seen. So essentially, William Blake is a reincarnated spirit that's very wise, half-mad, capable of ascending for brief periods to loftier planes and returning to share the wonders they have seen. So essentially, William Blake is enlightened and recurring character within our timeline, historical timeline. So, shall we try to decipher the meaning of the verse above? What Blake means by eternity, I think, is the sphere higher than this one, a plane of reality superior to the material dimension in which we dwell. In eternity, there is no such thing as time. Or Blake's syntax wouldn't distinguish it from eternity. Okay, so and probably no space either. So no time, no space. This plane may be inhabited by higher creatures, or it may be pure consciousness or spirit, but whatever it is, according to Blake, it's capable of being in love. Beings inhabit, oh my gosh. Sometimes reading this, I'm like, sometimes reading Stephen Pressfield's, I'm like, is this what it's like talking to me? Just going off on these whimsical thoughts here. So if beings inhabit this plane, I take Blake to mean that they're incorporeal. They don't have bodies, but they have a connection to the sphere of time, the one we live in. These gods or spirits participate in this dimension. They take interest in it. Eternity is in love with the creations of time, thereby means, to me, says Stephen, that in some way these creatures of the higher sphere, or the sphere itself in the abstract, take joy in what we time-bound beings can bring forth into physical existence in our limited material sphere. Okay. Okay. That was kind of parallel to what I was saying, but without the like higher beings. Okay. So he's saying it may be pushing the envelope, but if these beings take joy in the creations of time, might they not also nudge us a little to produce them? Okay, so he's saying that these are muses. Okay, I feel like this is a long rabbit hole stretch, but okay, I follow it. It's like, have you guys ever watched what is it, the Masked Singer? What's the guy's name? He's the comedian, and he always makes like these strange, far-fetched connections to try and guess who the singer is. And like sometimes he's right and they actually make sense, but for the most part, it's just like, dude, man, that sounds like you're grasping at straws, brah. But very entertaining, very fun to think about. So if that's true, then the image of the muse whispering inspiration in the ear is quite apt. So the timeless communicating to the time-bound. So again, we're on that spiritual plane of muses sending you creative inspiration. So I'm just again, he's telling us at the end, before I sit down to work, I'll take a minute and show respect to the unseen power who can make or break me. So he's giving his, okay. So Kim says, I taught a summer camp ages 7 to 12 on modernism, and Duchamp was our focus. He has lots of other art that is not as weird as the urinal. I'm going to have to go check out this urinal. I can't with this right now. I'm going to the next. Invoking the Muse Part 3. This whole muse and higher plane spiritual thing is interesting. Zondra's laughing. I just can't right now. How are you guys doing out there? I love this like poetic supposings that he's doing. Okay, so I respect this. It's your view. So artists have invoked the muse since time immemorial. There's great wisdom to this. There's magic to effacing our human arrogance and humbly entreating help from a source we cannot see, hear, touch, or smell. And he's quoting Homer's Odyssey again. Oh, divine Posy, goddess, daughter of Zeus, sustain for me the song of the various-minded man who, after he had plundered the innermost citadel of hallowed Troy, was made to stay grievously about the coasts of men, the sport of their customs, good and bad, while his heart, through all the seafaring, ached with an agony to redeem himself and bring his company safe home. Vain hope for them, the fools. Their own wistlessness cast them aside to destroy for meat the oxen of the most exalted sun, wherefore the sun god blotted out the day of their return. Make this tale live for us and all its many bearings, O Muse. So Kim says, my muse is Mona Lisa. She is in my home studio and public studio. I personally love Leonardo Da Vinci and all of his works. I don't have a book on him. I want one. There's one I keep looking at. Mona Lisa is just, I don't know. She's just one of those iconic, you can't look at it and be like, wow, that's a shitty painting. You just can't. You can't. You look at the Mona Lisa and you're like, this is a great painting. So I love that that's your muse. I think it's important, again, to have things around us that inspire us. Zondra says some of the stuff is hard to attach to because as humans, it's hard for us to accept things out of our control, which a considerable part of art is. Yes, I agree with that, because like oftentimes I'll have like a vision for a painting and then I go to paint it and maybe I don't know my tools well enough in order to get my vision out there, or maybe the painting just wants to take on a life of its own and go into a separate direction. And there is a release of control that has to happen. Like, I guess I agree with that. Like my paintings often will metamorphosis halfway through time and change direction. And oftentimes it's because I'm feeling like, oh, I need to take it in this direction. And sometimes it's just like I got like in this weird little rabbit hole and just went there, and accepting that and just knowing like, okay, this is what it is now. But there's different ways in which I paint. Like I can have like a very direct, specific outcome that I want. And then there's times where I have a partial idea of what I want and I'm willing to just ride that wave and like let the river take me, so to speak. So Zondra says we can show up diligently for years and get not. That hurts. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then it comes back down to like, why are you doing this? I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this because I want to. So Kim's saying she's like Coco Chanel, an icon. Oh, Mona Lisa. Yeah. And then Zondra says, I forget the name of the Leonardo that I like, but it was thought to be a knockoff and someone bought it for a couple $1,000s. Oh my gosh, I'd love to figure out what that is. So it was thought that it was a knockoff and then they later figured out it was actually real. That's pretty cool. So somebody got a good deal on painting. So he says, when we invoke the muse, we are calling on a force, not just from a different plane of reality, but from a holier plane. And on that note of the muse, like, it's nice, like you're saying, Zondra, like it is difficult to release control. But sometimes it can be nice to release that control and to just trust that whatever is going to happen is going to happen, right? So I think that we get too clenched up and too serious. And we need to, again, make sure that we do have fun and play with it, and we do show up and we do our work, but it's okay to release that like result, right? Like it's like you're saying, he made like 3 books that were shit, like, or he made 3 books. He was proud of making them, but nobody took interest in them until finally he made another book that was actually appreciated. So, you know, just continuing on, like you're saying, Zandra, it sucks to show up diligently for years and not get anything. It does hurt, but if you keep showing up, you know, you're going to get something, you know, and really thinking about why it is you're doing it. Are you doing this for yourself, or are you doing this for, like you said, to get famous, right? So he's breaking apart this excerpt from, Zondra's saying it's called Salvator Mundi. Oh, that's the name of the painting. I'll have to check that out. So he's breaking down the divine posy. So first, divine posy, when we invoke the muse, we're calling on a force, not just from a different plane of reality, but from a holier plane. Goddess, daughter of Zeus. Not only are we evoking divine intercession, but intercession on the highest level, just once removed from the top. Sustain for me. Homer doesn't ask for brilliance or success. He just wants to keep this thing going. This song, that about covers it. From the brothers, whatever, to your new venture in the, what? I don't understand what he's saying. So he's saying that he likes the summation of the Odysseus's trials that comprises the body of the invocation. He says that it's the Joseph Campbell's hero journey in a nutshell, as concise as a synopsis of the story of every man. He's saying that the untiring campaign to get home is meaning back to God's grace and back to himself, right? Which is cool that he's pointing that out, because I feel like when you're in a flow and connected with yourself, you can be like the most innovative with your work. You can be the most connected with your work, the most fulfilled on your own without any outer fulfillment. You can fulfill it for yourself, right? Once you're connected with yourself. So his artist's wish for this work: make this tale live for us in all its many bearings, O Muse. And that's what we want, isn't it? More than make it great, make it live. And not from one angle only, but in all its many bearings. Okay, we've said our prayer. We're ready to work. Now what? Okay. So again, we have this muse as this higher being. We have showing up, we have mastering your tools, we have showing up and doing your work. And when you show up and you do your work consistently, that allows the muse, whatever that might mean to you, to impart inspiration onto you. And then I like that he really honed in on how the ultimate thing was to connect with yourself, right? So when I'm doing my best and when I'm feeling my best with my artwork, I really do feel connected to myself. And I really do feel that that is a very rewarding thing. It's great to get outer recognition. It's great to get paid for what you love. But I think ultimately what I'm taking from this is, if you can connect and get in that flow state because you're showing up consistently for yourself, and you're able to feel that inspiration and have those moments where you are just letting the art flow through and out of you, that to me is like the best feeling. And I think that, as Zandra pointed out earlier, that blank canvas and those auditions and the hard work that you have to do to get there oftentimes is super daunting. And if you're not willing to go and do all that, just as Zandra said, you're not going to get that reward that I'm talking about. And it's really juicy and it's really good. And you do want the reward. If it's something that you're passionate about, you're going to continually show up. You can trip up, you can fall, but you'll continually get back up, get going. And it tastes real nice. All right. That's all I got for you guys this week. Zandra saying, if you Google New Da Vinci Found and Salvator Mundi, then the new stories come up about that Leonardo Da Vinci painting. So I have to check that out. But so this was interesting. I think we decided, what is it, 122. There's a lot more pages here. Zandra, you did the math. So it's 165 to 122. Let's split it in half. Let's do, should we do page 122 to 146? Zandra says 139. Okay, let's do that. So we're going to read pages 122 to pages 139. Kim says, my favorite piece of my work never sold, and I loved making it, and I'm so glad it hangs in my house. It hurt that no one liked it enough to buy it, but I love it. Yeah, you know, I have a lot of art that people don't buy. And it sucks, right? But everybody's got different taste, and you know, just because it hasn't sold doesn't mean that your demographic for that piece of artwork isn't out there. I mean, maybe you'll sell it in years down the road. You know what I mean? One thing that I really like about having all my unsold art is that it's hanging around my house. And I know I started this off saying I'm ready for all my old art to go. I'm ready to put new art on my walls. And that's just the phase that I'm in. I'm in a place now where I'm like looking at my art and I'm like, I've leveled up since I've made that and I can do better. So I want to get rid of this art. And, you know, I think that part of that feeling that you get when your artwork doesn't sell is a big thing that maybe sometimes we don't talk about enough. You know, art is a luxury item. Art is something that just because people appreciate it doesn't mean that they say anything to you. And so I can show my art and people can look at it and not everybody's going to tell me that they appreciate it, right? Even if they do. And somebody can want it even if they don't buy it. You know, so I think that is something to keep in mind. It does hurt if we think about it too much. It does hurt if we're like, wow, like I put everything I had into this and it's not interesting. I actually have a piece right over there. Okay, so I have this piece and somebody wanted to buy it, but then they were like having financial issues or whatever, so they backed out. And I haven't sold it, and it's like my magnum opus. Like so far, it's been like, to me, it was a huge level up for me, and I accomplished so much with that painting, and it was like my magnum opus. Is like my pride and joy. But like nobody's bought it, but it's the same thing. Like I have it hanging in my house right here, and you know, it definitely outshines the other pieces around it. But what's nice about having stuff like that you're so proud of is like a lot of times like something that's really popular will like sell, like the original will sell instead of just your prints. And then you forget that it's in somebody's house and that they're looking at it every day. And sometimes people will send me messages and they'll be like, they'll take a picture of their art print that they got from me or like an original that they got from me. And they're like, it's still here. I'm so happy about it. It's like, once I sell it, it's out the door. Like I don't think about my client having it in their house often enough. So I think if we can focus on the pieces that have sold, that, you know, once it's out of your plane of vision, you don't get to appreciate it anymore, but they get to look at it every day. And that's really cool. So Kim's saying, I'm over it now and it hangs in my living room and everyone that comes over falls in love with it. Too late, it's mine. So now it's yours and you're glad it didn't sell, which is so cool. But yeah, like I'm trying to communicate, like I do understand that feeling to a certain degree. So I hope that came through. But yeah, no, I love it. I love this painting too. But what's funny is the more and more I stare at paintings, the more and more I'm like, looking back, I would change this about how I did that, right? And so we got to be careful about that because that's done. We don't need to go back and fix things. All right, you guys, I guess that's it. So again, we said we're going to read pages 122 to pages 139. We'll be here next week. I'm considering a time change for Sundays, but I'm not 100% on it. I'm thinking I might do 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I'm thinking 4 o'clock would be easier. I'm trying to get a more consistent schedule, morning routine. So let's try 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time next week, and I think that might work out pretty well because my anyway, again, just trying to get my schedule locked down and more consistent on a daily basis because I think it's important to be flexible, but also I like to have a good morning routine. So, all right, you guys, 4 o'clock. I'm going to update my time. Zandra says, okay. Kim, that's, I think, 7 o'clock your time. So hopefully that's not too late. But yeah, I'll meet you here next week. And thank you for your understanding about having to reschedule last week. I thought I was going to make it, but I just had so much stuff come on. Kim says that 7 is fine. And love you guys. Love you too. Again, thank you guys so much. I super appreciate you guys showing up and digesting all of this with me. So, all right, y'all. Well, I hope you have a good week. Be creative, and I'm excited. I want to sit down and do this painting. I picked up a shift, but if I get too into my painting, I'm gonna probably not do my shift because I was painting on that pretty good yesterday. All right, y'all. Well, be creative. What is it? Kim says, "Keep art in your heart." That's a Kim quote. So. All right, you guys, have a happy day and enjoy your week and be safe. I went and got a COVID test on Friday and it came back clear. Had a little bit of a scare. Somebody who works with a friend's roommate contracted COVID, and so we all had to scramble and go get tests and adjust with work and stuff just to make sure we're being responsible. So there's my little COVID reminder. Let's make sure that we're being careful. I definitely kind of puts more things into perspective when you think about having to call everybody that you've come into contact with. And then just because somebody else may have. So, but everything came back clear. And again, I felt like I've been being really responsible, but I'm now taking time to really look at how I can be even more responsible than I've been. So let's keep that in mind. Let's keep everybody safe. And I hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. And what is it that they say? What is it? Oh, I forget. Anyway, well, you guys, love you. Have a happy week. I'm going to make some art. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Happy. Eat all the food. All right. Bye. Have a good week.